My name is Kevin Lawler, and a couple of years ago, my 50th birthday, I got up and I started to talk. They handed me a microphone, which is a dangerous thing to do with an Irishman. But as I was sitting there, a bunch of my friends from AA yelled out, "Who are you?" And I said, "My name's Kevin, and I'm an alcoholic." And that was the first time my father-in-law ever knew that. And I had been sober for about 16 years at the time. So we let the cat out of the bag on that day. And I'm letting it out of the bag again today because it's part of my story. I first, on my own, started looking for God when I was in college. And, being raised Catholic, I did all the obligations, but I really started looking when I was in college, and this was the late 70s, and nothing quite seemed to click, nothing quite happened, and I couldn't figure out why. But I got married in 1983 and had a child 10 months later, 1984, 10 months to the day after our wedding. And for those who were counting, I know there were some people in my family counting, but it was 10 months to the day, and life was coming at me fast, and my response to it was drinking, and the result was that I was going to have a real hard time finding God, even though I wanted to. And in 1987, December of 1987, one night I started passing out at home, and I passed out about 6 times, and finally got help and got to the hospital, and it turned out that I had a massive bleeding ulcer. And over the course of 3 days in the hospital, I lost 16 pints of blood. My pressure got down to 50 over 38. They had to do emergency surgery on a Sunday night. And I think that's the bellwether. If they operate on you on a Sunday night at 9 o'clock, it's pretty bad. So they saved my life, and the doctor was somewhat histrionic. He came out to my wife after 3 or 4 hours in the operating room, and he said, "The blood, it was pumping, 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 but I saved his life." And taking all the credit where the credit was due God. But so one of the things that did for me is I had a hard time trying to decide why I lived, why I was still here, what I was supposed to do. And for the next couple of years, that really bothered me, and then I had another bleeding ulcer. And that's the one that got me to AA, got me to address the drinking, because with the operation they gave me, I never should have had another ulcer. But when you put enough beer into your stomach, anything can happen. And so in AA, the God that I was searching for really started to come to life for me. And no more so than when I turned around and started helping other drunks, other alcoholics who were coming in. And I had a vocation. I was working for Merrill Lynch. I had a very successful career, more so after I got sober. But my avocation was to help other drunks. And that's been something that's been incredibly rewarding, and I get to see God all the time in other people. And I think that if I hadn't gone through all that, if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have been prepared for what came next. In 2008, I left my job. I left because I was working for a maniac, and I couldn't take it anymore after 11 months of abuse. And so I decided that I would take some time, decide what to do, and I decided to open my own business. So I opened a business in financial services the second week of September 2008, and the third week of September 2008, the world fell apart financially. So things didn't go too smoothly there, and as a result of all that falling apart, we found out, I said, all right, I left my job, business didn't get off the ground in 2008, 2009 will be better. So, because I'm pretty optimistic. In 2009, we found out we put most of our money with a Ponzi schemer, and so we lost all our money. Trying to figure out what to do, and I decided that I better go back to work for somebody. So I was looking for a job and thinking 2010 will be better. And in 2010, in March of 2010, as I was on the cusp of getting a couple jobs and really having a good decision to make, suddenly I couldn't walk. I was on 42nd Street, 48th Street on St. Patrick's Day, and I couldn't put one foot in front of the other. My foot would not go where I wanted it to. And I ended up, over the course of a couple days, into the hospital, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. It took them about 6 days to figure out that I have MS. And I got to the point where I couldn't stand, I couldn't walk, my hand curled into a fist, and I couldn't open it up. My speech was all slurred. My wife said my lips went down, so I looked like Dick Cheney when he's scowling. But at any rate, I spent a month in the hospital up in Helen Hayes and learning how to walk again and talk again and use my hand again. And then once I was out of there, I had to go through rehab, outpatient rehab, and that tended to put the job on hold. So I ended up getting disability, and we had a house in Cape Cod as well as a house here in Rockland County, and we sold both houses, and we had to move in with my parents. And when you're 51 years old, moving in with your parents is not the most exciting thing that you've ever done. And I'm quite certain it wasn't the most exciting thing they've ever done. But they opened their house for me and for my wife and my son. And, you know, things, I thought, okay, 2011 will be better. And so 2011, I got to January and I had another MS attack, and I lost the ability to walk again. And so I went through rehab and I was working really hard, and in March I had another attack, and I lost everything that I had worked on. And through all of this, a couple amazing things happened. The first and foremost is that I didn't drink. I didn't throw away everything that I worked for. But I kept the faith. I kept thinking everything will get better. And so as I was recovering from the second attack in 2011, I was actually on a stationary bicycle when I got a phone call, and it was from the dermatologist that told me that the thing they had taken off my back was a fairly substantial melanoma, and that I had to do something about it real quick. And so that started a process where I ended up having a big surgery on my back, and I started in the process. I had stage 3 melanoma, and they watched it very closely for the rest of 2011, and I was still recovering from the MS attacks, and you know, I was praying and thinking and saying 2012 will be better. And so 2012, about the 4th day of 2012, I found another lump in my groin. And it turned out that the melanoma was starting to spread, and I ended up with about 60 tumors breaking out on my side, and my groin, my armpit, and you know, it sent me deep into prayer. And I realized that, you know, going back to 1987 when I had the first ulcer, I had people all over praying for me. And in '93, I had people praying for me. And when I lost my job in 2003, I had people praying for me. And in '08, when I left my job, I had people praying for me. And with the MS, I had people praying for me. And not just locally, it was spread out all over the place. People had prayer chains, And people would tell me consistently, we're praying for your healing, we're praying for your healing. And I realized something in January of this year. I realized that the prayers worked. Because I realized that my soul had been healed. And I've been hoping that my body will come along, but I realized that it's not necessary. Because with my soul being healed, everything's going to be all right. And I don't know what all right means. You know, but I found out something. I found out that I was always going to die, and I never knew when. And that was always up to God. And so I became okay with everything, and I stopped trying to control it. And the moment I did that, the moment I realized my soul had been healed, I felt this peace descend upon me. And, you know, that peace has been incredible, because in short order I heard the cancer spread, the cancer's aggressive, the first chemo we used didn't work, the next drug that we tried didn't work, the radiations had middling responses, it's now in your brain. In late May, I woke up 20 times one night in excruciating pain in my head. Went to get an MRI and found out I had a tumor pressing into my brain. You know, I finished the medicine, they did an MRI or a PET scan and found out it was in my spleen and my spine. And then I felt it growing over the summer when I was supposed to have the summer off, and I found out it's in my lung and my liver and my bladder. So we were trying to do a clinical trial, and they did another MRI and just found a new one in my brain. And through all that, the peace has never left me. Through all that, I've had my moments of fear, but nothing that's paralyzed me. And that's because I can feel God with me every step of the way. And, you know, God has granted me for the last 29 years, because we just had our anniversary last week, an incredible wife named Marie. And, you know, one of the things that I found out as I went through all this, and I listed all the bad things, but I started to look, and I looked at how many things I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for the fact that I have so many sponsees in AA, and that I can help them. And I can help guys and see the light go on in their eyes, that there's a better way, and that way is God, not to drink. And I'm grateful that in 2009, my younger son graduated from Manhattan College as the valedictorian. And I was a student who got kicked out of college for a 1.2 grade point average after 3 semesters. So, talk about a proud moment as a father. And a couple months later, my oldest son got married to, I know he's to the girl of his dreams, but thankfully for us, she's also the girl of our dreams as a daughter-in-law. And we've been blessed there. And, you know, we were able to sell the houses, and we were able to move in with my parents. And I have some great friends. I've been in a Renew group for 20 years at my church. We meet at 6 a.m. On Wednesday mornings. And the guys in that group asked what they could do to help me, and I told them that I was struggling with the credit card debt that I had run up to live on after the money was stolen. And they took over paying my credit cards. And they paid them for about 7 months, or 8 months actually. And in short order, my accountant got us a big tax return from a loss on sale of the Cape Cod house, and I got Social Security disability with a lump sum, and we got some money from my wife's uncle, and we paid all the debt off. And I didn't know how we were possibly going to do that the month before it all happened, and it all happened in a month. And then I asked my friends, I said, well, what do I owe you? And they said, nothing. I said, you can't be nothing. You paid for 8 months. And they said, we've been watching you help people for 19 years without any thought of anything in return. We're in a position to help you and we're doing it. That's all there is to it. You know, and so I could miss all that. I could say I've had a run of bad luck. But that's God at work. He's been with me all this time. You know, and I don't know where this is going to go, you know. I guess there's a seminal moment in every man's life when his hair starts to fall out. For me, it was Monday. I was sitting at the table, and I had started chemo 2 weeks ago, and I scratched my head, and a big clump of hair fell out under the newspaper. So I scratched it some more, and more hair fell out, and kept falling out, so I went upstairs and I shaved it off. And so then yesterday I went for radiation on the brain, and you know, they put this big scaffolding on your head. You know, they call it a halo, they call it a scaffolding. And, you know, they lock me into place with it, but I had to spend all day with that on my head. And, you know, it's, God puts lots of people in our path, and a lot of times we're too busy to see them. You know, but I've spent a lot of time seeing them. I have incredible family, incredible friends. Have a relationship with one of my aunts, my Aunt Ann, that's, you know, incredible and just gives me great joy. My parents have been unbelievable. My brothers and sisters came in to see me individually and collectively. And, you know, it's just, I could miss all that and be stuck in my bad luck. But it's not bad luck, it's just the way it is. It's just life. And I asked for it and I got God's peace to deal with it. And so the last thing that I did was, you know, I said to my wife, I think I probably ought to make a bucket list. And so I said to her, I want to play a lot of golf, and I want to have a lot of sex. And she said, well, can you teach me how to play golf? And through it all, my faith has been there, God has been there, and I'll get through it however it ends. Thanks.